Hello everyone and welcome back. This is our second grade DCPS learning packet for distance learning. We're going to be working on week 8, day 2. Let's get started. So now I'm looking at my daily warm-up. Sarah saw 38 daisies and 42 daffodils in the field behind her parents' house. How many flowers did she see altogether? So first I look for some important things. I'm looking for quantities, which are numbers, and units, the amount of what. So my units are what am I talking about? So I see I have a quantity of 38 and I have a unit of daisies, 38 daisies. Then I also see I have a quantity of 42. 42 what? 42 daffodils. Now I'm going to go look at my question. My question states, how many flowers did she see all together? When I think of the word all together, I think of bringing things into one group. So if I bring things into one group, I guess I'm going to have to add. All right, let's see if you can figure out this problem. Please press pause and see if you can find the answer. So we have a quantity of 38 plus 42. When we add those numbers together, we get the number 80. There are 80 flowers altogether. If you have that, you are correct. This anchor chart here is about measuring length. Length is how long or how far away something is. There are two ways that we can look at measuring length. Do customary ways, like when we use inches, feet, and yards, or when we use the metric system. When we use the metric system, we're looking at centimeters and meters. We're going to continue to explore about length and measurements. So let's continue on. This chart here is showing us how to measure in centimeters and in inches, and how to compare two or more objects. Now, many years ago, before people had rulers or scales, they had to measure things, and they used their body parts to do so. A yard was considered to be the measurement of from your thumb to the tip of your nose. That space would be considered a yard. The length of a foot was an actual human foot. And the length of an inch was considered to be this first top part of your finger. The tip of your finger to this first line is considered to be an inch. Well, now let's see how knowing that will help us to figure out if we will use inch, a foot, or a yard ruler to measure things. If I had a marker, what would be the best way to measure it? Let me think. The best way to measure a marker, would it be inch, with an inch rule in inches, with a foot, or with a yard? I think inches, because a marker is a kind of small object. How about the length of a car? What would be the best way to measure it? With an inch, foot, or yards? Well, I know inches would take me a long time because they're small. A foot is in the medium category. A yard can be kind of long. I think I'm going to go with a foot. I would measure the length of a car with a foot. A soccer field, Would I use inches? Definitely not. It would take me forever. They're so small. Or the medium size, inches? No, it would take me so long. How about a foot? Maybe, but it's a little bit bigger than an inch, but still. No, if I wanted to do a soccer field, I would definitely measure it in yards. Now, let's continue to look at our Let's Try It section. We've already done part 1. Now, let's look at problem 2. It states, use your ruler to measure the lines in inches and centimeters. Round the measurements to the nearest inch or centimeter. So remember, our ruler is designed so that I can measure in two different measurements for length. I can measure in inches, which go from 0 to 6, or when I flip my ruler, I can measure in centimeters. And centimeters is represented by the abbreviation cm. So, first thing they asked me to do is to measure this line in centimeters. So I have to make sure that my ruler is turned so I see the cm part of my ruler is so that I can read it. It goes from 0 to 15. So let's measure. Remember, I'm going to put the 0 at the start of the line, and I'm going to look at the end of the line to see how far away it is. So it stops at 14, a little bit over 14 centimeters. So this line is 14 centimeters. I'm going to write it on my recording sheet. Next, it tells me to measure in inches. Therefore, I have to flip my ruler to the inch side. It goes from 0 to 6. I'm going to measure this in centimeters. So, 0 starts here at the beginning of my ruler, and my ruler, the line falls in between 5 and 6. So it's about 5.5 inches, but we're working with whole numbers. So I'm going to round 5.5 up to 6 inches. So I'm going to write that this is 6 inches long. I'm going to write it on my recording sheet now. You do the same. Now let's go to problem number 3. In problem 3, it says use your ruler to measure each set of lines in inches and write the lengths on the line. Complete the comparison sentence. So we have two things to do here. We are going to have to measure, and then we're going to have to compare the lines. So let's look at what measurement am I looking at. It says here that line C measures about inches. So therefore, I'm measuring in inches. So let's get started measuring in inches. So in order for me to measure in inches, I have to make sure that my ruler is turned the correct way. I'm looking at the inch side, what goes from 0 to 6. The word inches is written here. So as I'm measuring line C, I see that from 0, I have to line up my ruler at 0, which is the beginning of my ruler, and see where the line ends. It ends at 3. So line C is 3 inches long. Now I'm going to write it on my recording sheet. Next, I'm going to go to line D. I'm going to take my ruler. Remember, I'm measuring in inches. Therefore, I have to use the inch side of the ruler. It's the side where I will see how to read the word inches. I see the word inches is here, so therefore I can line it up. Remember, the start of my ruler starts where I'm measuring. So it's starting at 0. Where does it stop? It stops at 6 inches. So line D is 6 inches. I'm going to record that now on my sheet. Now I'm ready to move to my sentences. It states, line C measured inches. Well, we found out that line C measures 3 inches. I'm going to put the number 3 there in that sentence. Line D measured about inches. It measured about 6 inches. Now we go to the last sentence on that page. Line C is about inches shorter than line D. So I have to find out the difference between the two. The difference in the length. One is shorter, one is longer. One way that I can do the difference is to subtract. I can say 6 minus 3 equals Another way I could do it, I could start with the shorter side. I can say, well, if I have 3 and I add
to 3 in order to make my longer side 6. Here, I want you to press the pause button. I want you to figure out what goes in those two blanks. The numbers should be the same. That's a hint. If you said the missing answer is 3, you are correct. 6 minus 3 equals 3. 3 plus 3 equals 6. Therefore, line C line C is about 3 inches shorter than line D. All right, let's go into the problem set.
Now, I want you to take what you've learned today and finish your problem set on your own. And I'll see you next week. Mr. Bernal will be here tomorrow to tell you more about measurement. Bye, everyone.